Welcome back, my dear friends. It is me, Dr. Wes Jamison, and I am here to bring you again today to talk about Chapter 9 of our textbook, Wages and Unemployment. I shouldn't say unemployment, I should say employment, although today it does feel like it's mostly unemployment, but we're going to talk about a few of those things later in the lecture. I want to kind of give you a basic overview of what we're going to talk about today. And here it is. We are going to focus on two things. That's four. I should just do this. Two things today. And what we're going to focus on. The first thing we're going to focus on is shifts in labor demand. This is covered quite extensively in your book, but I want to just hit on two, two things of substance that I think are very interesting. These things of complementary factors of labor versus substitute factors of labor. And then secondly, we're going to talk about shifts in labor supply. And this is firms' preferences and choices, and not just firms' preferences and choices, labor's preferences and choices, and how they work out and what happens to labor with that. I think it's interesting that when we talk about complementary factors of production, right? I mean, your book mentions this barely, but I think it's a fairly important point. This is when increases in one factor of production increases the demand for another factor, right? And here, your book mentions it, but briefly, the example of human capital. Now, what is human capital? Well, human capital is exactly what you're doing now. You're providing for yourself some sort of capital. You're making yourself you're making companies want you more because you are gaining education, intelligence, skills. You are becoming more valuable to companies, and this is so important. So essentially, this factor of education is making you a more demanded product for companies, right? People will want to have more people like you rather than uneducated people, and that's because of your education. And education matters so much. Let me just move myself out of the way here. I can show you. Check this out. So this is like how much money people earn versus the unemployment rate, depending upon the education you get. And you can see that people who have less than a high school diploma have a very high unemployment rate. And of course, this is 2018. And they don't make very much money. But the more you obtain your degrees, the more education you get, the unemployment rate not only goes down, but the more you make also goes up. This is extremely important. And that's the reason why you're in this class. And that's the reason why you're getting a degree in the first place, right? Here's another graph where you can see that you see the average salary in the United States it's pretty low compared to those that earn higher degrees. This is your average bachelor degree jobs right here. You have civil engineers and sales managers, social workers. Those kind of degrees can earn you above the average salary. But even if you go on and get a further degree, like a master's degree or a Ph.D., right? Recum Texas Tech, you can earn much more than the average salary in America. And that's because those people are wanted. And you guys already know that. That's why you guys are in this class to begin with. So this has to do with complementary factors of production. You gaining education complements you wanting to be more demanded in the work. But there is the other side of this, right? There are substitute factors of production. Now, I've been telling so many of my students about this for so long. This is when an increase in one factor of production decreases demand for another factor. Now, what if increases in automation decreases the demand for you to get a job, right? And that's why we have to specialize. We absolutely have to specialize. Robots are now able to do routine, simple tasks, even driving, and that's going to cut out. Think about how many semi-truck workers will be out of a job in 20 years. It's terrifying. There's going to be millions and millions and millions of jobs that will not have a place. And if you think that it's going to be like just semi-truck drivers, think again. I mean, this is flippy flips burgers. Flippy is a very terrifying robot that is now taking the place of many short order cooks across America. And Flippy's even kind of old news because now in San Francisco they have these new burger making machines that are making $6 burgers for, and you think about it, employment in San Francisco, the minimum wage is $15, and even then you have to be higher than that in order to attract workers. So why not just build a machine that will do it for half the cost, right? And so if you're making $6 burgers, this machine has to cost less than $6 in order for you to make a profit, $6 a burger, right? And it does everything. It can do things, I mean, like, look here, it slices the onion, the tomato, adds the lettuce. You can add several different types of cheese, even like, sharp cheddar or smoked cheddar. It adds all the sides. It cooks the burger for you. I mean, this is the future of automation. And so it makes us wonder, what do we need to do to be prepared for the next level of employment? Don't worry, I'm here to tell you, okay? I'm here to help you. Look, here's the thing. Here's what we need for jobs for the future. Here's what you have to be so that your robot boss right here doesn't kick you out of the factory. You need to be able to do a series of non-routine tasks. It needs to require social intelligence. You have to learn how to talk to people. You have to be somewhat social in this new future. It's also going to require complex critical thinking. Now that in itself is an entire class that we can talk about later, but just keep this in mind. You need to be able to think about a lot of different things and to be able to critique them. And also creative problem solving. We need to be able to solve minute and big problems very quickly. And hopefully that's what classes like this offer you. And there's many other classes like that. Don't be afraid to take my propaganda class at Snow either. It really does help. Now, if we think about labor supply, right? The things that change people's willingness to work is huge. And we are going through something today, and we're going to talk about what's going on today in America. But the things that, why do people want to work, right? Okay, so in economics, we think about the laborer, right? The person, right? And why would you want to work? Well, you labor to have leisure, right? You want to leisure and therefore you work, right? And so we have to make this constant, decision on how much to work versus how much to leisure. And this depends. This depends on our preferences, the prices of goods, our expectations, and finally our income. Because let's say your preference is, I would rather be lazy. Well, you're probably not going to work too much, And if prices are really low, then you probably don't have to work too much. And if your expectations are pretty low, you're probably not going to work too much. But if you prefer to work because prices are high and you want to be able to put food on the table, that's one thing. What if your expectations is to be a millionaire, a CEO of a company? You want to be a surgeon one day. Well, then you're probably going to have to work extremely hard. And the weird thing is, of course, income. And I'm going to get to that in a couple slides from now. But income is interesting. As your income changes, you may want to work less. That's an option for you in this America. I want to talk to you about a couple other things first. As I mentioned in my last video, America in 2021 is absolutely crazy. We are seeing help wanted signs in almost every restaurant. I'm in Salt Lake City right now. We just ate at El Chihuahua. It's a very good restaurant. But they had help wanted signs. Every restaurant we went to this weekend had help wanted signs. And people all over America are writing about this, saying, okay, like, why is everybody quitting? As the pandemic recedes, millions of workers are saying, I quit. They're calling it the Great Resignation of 2021. They're saying that 30% of workers are really quitting, and that is absolutely crazy. And why is this happening? Well, let me show you what should happen. This is a graph specifically from your book, right? And what we are seeing here is exactly this. We are seeing a demand for labor go forward. We are seeing an increased amount of demand. It goes from D1 to D2. And so technically, what should happen is we should see the wages go up so that more workers will be increased into that demand. So as wages go up, labor goes up because demand goes up, right? That is what should happen. But I think what is really happening is this. Because we are not seeing wages go up very quickly, and we call this in economics the stickiness of wages or the stickiness of prices, meaning that as changes happen quickly on the ground, sometimes things that are set in stone and have been traditionally kind of slow to move, like wages or prices, they're sometimes hard to move. They're quote unquote sticky. And because they're sticky, we are seeing, where's my little guy right here? We are seeing wages kind of stay the same. And so as demand moves out, we are seeing wages stay the same. And what we are seeing here, this box is now labor shortage. So because of the stickiness of wages, we are seeing a shortage across America. Now, my question to you is like, what's going to happen? Do you think we see wages increase? Because if we see wages increase, we could see this shortage be filled by workers. But why are we not? Why are we not seeing wages increase? Well, I think I may have an answer for that too. The question is, how much should companies pay workers? How much should companies pay laborers? Places like California that have instituted a $15 minimum wage, they're running into the same problems. And instead of hiring workers, now that wages have become so high, they're hiring machines. And that's not what we want. We want to be able to hire everybody. And so that means that some laborers may need to take a lower wage. And that reason is for this. And we call this the backward bending supply curve. And it's very interesting, right? I think about Miss Wilson right here, right? Miss Wilson will work more hours the more she gets paid per hour, right? Like, okay, she'll work 42 hours for $10 an hour. Now, if somebody's going to pay her 15, she's going to work even more. She's going to work even more because she's getting paid more. But then if somebody pays her 20, she's like, well, that's even great. Why do I need to work more hours if I'm just getting paid more? And then if somebody's going to pay her even more, she's going to be like, well, now I have the opportunity to work even less and still be making a pretty decent living. So this backbending labor supply curve is something that companies face. How much do we supply laborers? And do you think this is a company problem? Or do you think this is a labor being too kind of childish problem? And maybe it's between both. I don't know. I would love to hear your comments below, but I hope this helps. Next week, we are going to talk about inequality and poverty, and this kind of ties into this. So hopefully we can make a connection there. I hope you guys have the greatest weekend. And if you need me for any reason, I'm grading. I'll be grading all weekend, trying to catch up. Please don't hesitate to drop me a line. And we are coming to the end of the semester. We only have one more chapter after this before we work on the final exam. I hope this is good for you guys. It seems like you guys are doing really well. I'm very proud of you. Please let me know if there's anything I can do to help. I'm always here for you guys. I'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys.